In the course of the investigation that was being carried out by the Maharashtra ATS, several witnesses were essentially being called in. In fact, there were trumped up charges that were leveled against the so-called accused. One such person who was called in for questioning by the Maharashtra ATS was Milind Rao Joshi, president of Abhinav Bharat, a man with whom I've spoken to for several years put together. Milind, thank you very much for joining us. We've known each other for several years. We've spoken many a times, and you've time and again spoken about how you were being tortured, how you were being forced to take names. But before I come into the details of the investigation that was carried out by the Maharashtra ATS, I want to begin from the time the case was being investigated. How did you really figure in this particular case?
So this blast took place somewhere in September, and we were all basically watching news, and we would see Sadhvi Pradnya Singh Thakur's name flashing up related to Malegaon case. And since we didn't know her, there was no panic. I mean, it was just a news for us. Although we were taken aback by thinking, why would a Sadhvi be involved in such kind of cases? But anyway, after a few days, the news started flashing that a colonel posted in Panchmadi is being taken in for interrogation, and he is one of the suspects. And this is where the alarm bell started ringing because we knew that Colonel Purohit was posted in Panchmadi learning Arabic in the language school of army there. And still we couldn't connect the dots as if like why exactly he is being interrogated. But we thought that it might be related to his intelligence job. He's an intelligence officer in Indian Army. And later on, when the news started flashing that he's been arrested for it, we were like in a panic mode. We knew that this thing is going to come at our doorstep one day or the other. And it happened in the Diwali of 2008, just one day before the Lakshmi Pujan night, that the ATS picked me up. They took me to Shivajinagar ATS office in Pune, of course, and that is when the interrogation started. And this is how, I mean, Abhinav Bharat, myself, we got involved into the
Milind,
whole
did you know
situation.
Colonel Purohit at that point in time?
Yes, of course, we did know. We have Colonel Purohit. Abhinav Bharat is an organization which involves, we basically inspire young people to join Defense Forces of India. Because you may know that there is a dearth of 13,000 officers in Indian Army. So we want more and more boys and girls, of course, now to join the defense forces. So we needed help of serving officers to, inspire youths from colleges and tell their stories, inspire them to join the forces. So we knew Colonel Purohit right from the beginning,
So,
plenty
when
of
you
years
were
ahead.
called in for questioning by the Maharashtra ATS, how did it all start? Was the focus only about your association with Colonel Purohit, the very fact that Colonel Purohit was participating in certain meetings of Abhinav Bharat? Was that the reason why you were called in for questioning?
Yeah, I mean, see, I distinctly remember first day of my interrogation in Shivajinagar ATS office, wherein they started my relationship with Colonel Purohit, and but that was for a very short period of time. They were as if like, हमको तो मालूम है कि तुम पुरोहित के दोस्त हो, एक ही साथ काम करते हो. They were more keen on knowing whether I had any connections with RSS people. And the interrogation, I remember the first night, they started asking me about whether you are from RSS. I said, I'm not from RSS. They used to ask me कि कौन से शाखा में जाते थे पुणे के. So these buggers didn't know that I'm originally from Mumbai. I'm a Bandra boy. And fortunately or unfortunately, there is no RSS Sangh Shakha in Bandra. And so I have never been related to RSS. And but their line of questioning started that night itself कि फिर कौन से आरएसएस के लीडर को पहचानते हो, क्या करते हो, झूठ मत बोलो, बोलो कि तुम जाते थे आरएसएस. 15th 20th day, it had turned into coercion. We will look after your wife, we'll make it sure that she is naked in front of you, we will rape her in front of you. तुम्हारे बूढ़े मामा माँ बाप अकेले रहते हैं, हमको मालूम है, हमारी गाड़ी वहां पे 24 घंटा खड़ी रहती है. We know which school your children go to, and all those things started, which definitely took a mental toll on me. It was a really hard thing after a week of interrogation or so. It was really difficult to know that my family has been isolated and probably targeted.
Milind, when you came out of the questioning by the ATS, anyone in your shoes at that point in time would have been extremely worried, given the fact that your family members were being threatened. What did you do thereafter? Did you seek any help, or were you at that point in time, perhaps you had lost faith in the system?
I cannot tell you what happened in my personal life because it is not for public consumption. But then there was definitely a lot of things which happened in my family. All I can tell you is that my family, particularly me, my wife, and children, were isolated because of the stigma which was inflicted on us that we belong to some kind of a terrorist organization. And did I lose my faith in the system? No is the answer. Because, we Sanatanis are believers that one day or the other, the truth is going to come out. You can torture us, you can put us into difficulty, but one day or the other, the truth will come out and we will be the victors. And this
When
is
you look
exactly
into the
what
case,
happened today.
because I remember meeting you in Pune almost several years ago when I was first looking into the Malegaon blast case. In fact, I had met Colonel Purohit's wife at that point in time. She had shown me the documentation in terms of how he was basically gathering information, and the very fact that it is natural that a military officer, particularly linked to the military intelligence, would be meeting several organizations, and Abhinav Bharat happens to be one such. In the process of this entire investigation, what are the things that you really spotted were absolutely glaringly, false, and yet it was getting the kind of attention, be it at media at that point in time, or for that matter, in the courts?
So distinctively, it was basically coining of the word Hindu
Did that
terror.
surprise you? Did that surprise
And
you?
during interrogation, yes, of course, it did surprise me because even as a Sanatani Hindu myself, I can tell you very surely, even if I have a terrorist thought or I have a thoughts of vengeance against any community, which we don't garner, of course, but then Hindus cannot be terrorists. A bomb cannot be a weapon of Hindus because bomb is an area weapon. Once it blows up, the shrapnels doesn't look for Hindu or Muslim or Sikh or any other Christian. It's not a Hindu weapon. Even in past history, go to ancient history of India, there are no terrorizing acts done by the Rajas, Maharajas as well. So, by virtue of being Sanatani, we cannot be terrorists. We can be aggressive in our thoughts. We are, of course, and Hindus always believe that we can win by debates. I mean, Adi Shankaracharya and Mandan Mishra, we have an excellent example that there was a debate between Buddhism and Sanatan Dharma where Adi Shankaracharya won that thing. So this has been Hindu's philosophy. Why would any Hindu pick up a bomb and use it? Of course, Hindus have picked up guns. I mean, Abhinav Bharat of Swatantra Veer Savarkar has definitely picked up guns against the Britishers, but that is not an area weapon. So I was really taken aback by that particular word or that particular sentence coined by Mr. Chidambaram in Parliament that Hindu terror exists. I was taken aback vastly when Rahul Gandhi mentioned certain things to an US ambassador that Hindu terror is much threat. I mean, it is much bigger in India than Lashkar-e-Toiba. I was really surprised where these people are going. But now, after all these 17 years, I could gather their pattern. In 2008, they tried and put in the stigma on Hindu community as well as on army. When Uri strike happened and the government did the surgical strike, they questioned the army whether they have done the surgical strikes or no. Then during the Pulwama attack, when India retaliated on Balakot, these were the same people who asked questions about whether our aeroplanes have really dropped the bombs on the terrorist hideouts or they are in the jungles. Pakistan was saying the same thing that India has dropped bombs on jungles. Then again in Operation Sindoor, nowadays you look at the TV, the parliament debate is all about whether Indian Defence Forces has really conducted an effective operation or no. Why do these people want to doubt on defense forces? I mean, which other organization in this goddamn country is more honest and more loyal towards the country? Why are they behind this? Why did they bring Colonel Purohit into the entire thing? Because he was an intelligence man. Maybe he knew certain things which they didn't never
When
wanted
did you
to come out.
first meet Colonel Purohit?
Not a childhood friend, but it's, quite far away. I mean, even before when he just joined the army, probably during that time, it was an introduction by a friend of mine to Colonel Purohit. At that time, it was just hi and hello, and I myself always inspired to join the defense forces. Unfortunately, couldn't do that. So I always look upon the officers of Indian Defense Forces very highly. So it started with small conversations. Then later on, as Abhinav Bharat was forming, I requested him that you should give the lectures whenever he is available in Pune, and he would do that during that time. And eventually, we became friends actually.
That's the evolution of your relationship with Colonel Purohit. What is the most striking feature about Colonel Purohit? Because here is a man who was languishing in the jail for almost 9 years, and the fact that he went on fighting this out, even till today, when he says that I have no malice, and the fact that he's grateful to the country. As someone who has known Colonel Purohit very closely, and as you pointed out, you're a family friend of him, what is it that the country really does not know about Colonel Purohit?
So the country should know that he is a very courageous officer. He first served into the infantry division. He was in Maratha Light Infantry, a very decorated officer. Ask any of his fellow officers or his subordinates or his commanding officers. This guy has been very courageous. He has served into Jammu and Kashmir. He has terrorist kills on his name. But during the one of the encounters, he received a battle injury. Due to battle injury, he couldn't continue with the infantry division. So he was asked to move to military intelligence. In military intelligence, all I can tell you is that Colonel Purohit is like, one of the tough nut intelligence guy. He wouldn't let anybody know what is happening in his professional life. A very, very thorough professional army officer with high integrity, high honesty, and a lot of love for his country. Even today, he will readily die for the country. So that is what we know about
What is it
Colonel
that the
Purohit.
country lost in those 9 years when Colonel Purohit was behind bars? Because we are talking about a man who was looking into very sensitive issues, particularly with terror groups. What do you think did the country lose in those 9?
So his commanding officer in military intelligence and his subordinates would be able to tell you much more in detail. What I can tell you is that the things he was working on, the intelligence network, growing intelligence network within the country itself. Now today we all talk about the third front, that is the internal front, which the army may have to face if there is a war on two fronts. The internal conflict. So Colonel Purohit was actively improving his network within India itself. This was probably out of the box thinking because maybe nobody has ever attempted to do that, but definitely he was working on that. And the loss which country has had today is that the greatest loss is that we have lost Purohit as a gentleman officer. I am doubtful whether he would be able to work with the same efficacy as it was earlier, say around 9 years back or 10 years back. Secondly, any other intelligence officer or any other army officer who may think of developing such kind of a network once again to save the country, he may think twice, thrice, and may give up that जो पुरोहित का हुआ वो मेरे बारे में होना नहीं चाहिए जाने दो 9 से 5 नौकरी करो सरकार का पगार खाओ that is the greatest loss. We need more and more officers like Colonel Purohit to work on the intelligence network to find out the details of those people who are working against the country and destroy them.
Go
Period.
back to the time that you were being called in for questioning by the Maharashtra ATS. I do know, uh, as a matter of fact, that it's perhaps one of the most painful episodes of your life. But it is important that the world today really knows that someone like you, who was essentially serving the country in one way or the other, was being tortured by the Maharashtra ATS. What is it that we do not know about what went inside those interrogation chambers?
So with me particularly, I was not physically harmed. You talk about mental torture, sleep disorder, no food, family pressures. I mean, what I told you earlier that uh, सब अनाप शनाप बकना तुम्हारे वाइफ के बारे में बच्चों की धमकियां देना. So as I told you that after a week or so, we were able to gather that these people are behind RSS people. So I distinctively remember that they asked me to name five RSS and BJP leaders, and that was a constant pressure. A fake arrest warrant was shown to me. Now I can say it was a fake arrest warrant because I was not arrested, and told that if at all you don't give up these names, we will be arresting you. The story which they cooked up was that tell the magistrate that these people were in this particular meeting. They were there in that meeting. They met us. They encouraged us to do the bomb blasts and everything. So these were the things which were particularly dictated to me, which I, as a witness in the honorable court, have given the statement that the way I was tortured and the way they wanted to seek names of RSS and BJP leaders.
Verdict that has come out. We don't know who really carried out the Malegaon blast. It brings us to square one. Whatever may be the case, where we are talking about a terror case that has happened in this country, and we all deserve to really know what really happened. And that brings me to the question with regards to the role of the Maharashtra ATS. Somehow, because of multiple political pressures, it seems that those who carried out the investigation, particularly the Maharashtra ATS at that point in time, Hemant Karkare, Parambir Singh, and various others, today have been left scot-free. For instance, in the Parambir Singh, who has been named by Sadhvi Pragya, has been let off. There is no investigation that is being carried out. I want to ask you, do you believe that a message needs to be sent across, perhaps to everyone wearing the uniform, that if at all today such trumped up charges are made and false evidence is actually gathered, it sends across a very, very wrong message to the citizenry, and perhaps it is time to take some sort of an action against those erring officers?
So today the honorable court, of course, I haven't read the judgment yet, but whatever news I've been getting is through the media. Today the honorable court has asked the Maharashtra state government to form an SIT and re-investigate the entire thing. So it's a very welcome move. We support this new SIT. The only request I would like to make to the Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, is that he should include an army officer of a general rank in this SIT, because it is not only the Hindu community which was targeted, it was also the army which was targeted in this particular case. So it would be better that the SIT has a general level army ranking officer. Secondly, coming back to your point, we will cooperate with this new SIT. If need be, they want to interrogate us. Once again, we are willing to go for the interrogation. We are willing to share all the information of what we went through. And so long as the officers you mentioned right now, Mr. Hemant Karkare, what I can tell you, one thing which I always wonder during all these 17 years is that Mr. Hemant Karkare was an IPS officer, and he allegedly had received some phone calls from Hindu organizations, threatening phone calls. Now, I always imagine that if I would have been an IPS officer, first thing I wouldn't have been scared of such kind of threatening calls. Second thing which I would have done is taken a course of law where I would have registered a case against all these phone calls, and I would have informed my immediate superior, another IPS officer. Ironically, Mr. Hemant Karkare chose to call Digvijay Singh, a Madhya Pradesh Congress leader, probably a member of parliament, to seek his guidance or seek his help. I don't know what he was seeking that time. Now, why would an investigating officer of IPS would call up a Congress guy in Madhya Pradesh and tell him that I have been receiving threatening calls from Hindu organizations? I mean, what is role of Digvijay Singh in all these things? Was Digvijay Singh going to protect Mr. Hemant Karkare? And if he was a protector, he would have better protected him during the attack of 26/11. So there are these things. There was an ATS officer called as Mujawar, and he had given up a statement. I quite believe that he had come up with an R Bharat, and Arnab Goswami sir has also uh, taken his interview, wherein this Mujawar ATS officer has claimed that Sandeep Dange and Ramchandra Kalsangra, the two people absconding people in our case, who actually drove that motorcycle and planted the bomb, they were actually killed by ATS in 26/11 Mumbai attack, and their bodies were disposed of as lavaris. Now all these things are available on TV. I mean, they are on record. So I request the SIT to investigate into all these things. Why these absconding people? The second question is that if at all there are absconders, Farar Aropi hai, so why does it take police 17 years, police, NIA, 17 years to find them? They are still absconding. On record, they are still absconding. Now, Mumbai police is compared with Scotland Yard. Since my childhood, I've been hearing this, that they're as good as Scotland Yard. It takes 17 years to find two absconders. Come on, it doesn't gel in with it. So there are a lot of questions. There is a lot of ambiguity, which even I wanted to ask if an SIT is formed. I would rather ask these officers once again कि भाई कहाँ पे है वो दो लोग उनको खड़े करो क्यों नहीं मिल रहे. The third thing which I would like to emphasize is that Maharashtra ATS has taken over the investigation earlier. They started with the investigation. But then why were CBI officers from Delhi coming in and interrogating us? You will come across a lot of witnesses which were interrogated by CBI officers who had come from Delhi. Now, these officers would come late night into our homes, take us onto isolated streets, and dhamko fire, abhi tumhara encounter karne wale hai ye. I distinctly remember there is a fort near Pune which is called as Simhagad Fort. There is a dense forest over there. So people were taken to that dense forest by these CBI officers, threatened that you will be encountered now, and then let off, of course, by early morning. Then, I mean, when the investigation was never with CBI, why were these CBI officers involved? And why they were coming from Delhi? I particularly know that our officers used to come from Delhi. So, what is this Delhi connection is what I would like to know now.
Well, thank you very much, Milind, for joining us and sharing your thoughts. Some of it must have been extremely painful for what you've essentially gone through, but your position stands vindicated today. And on behalf of everyone here, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.